25 minutes before the top of the hour, Senator Ted Cruz accusing Facebook of censoring COVID-19 content on behalf of the government, as social media giant reveals it will no longer ban posts suggesting the virus is man-made.
Unfortunately, I don't expect the Biden administration will do anything to hold them to account. But these latest breakthroughs have real consequence, because it now is clear that Facebook was operating at the direction of and in the direct benefit of the federal government and operating as the government censor, utilizing their monopoly position to censor on behalf of the government.
Here to react is biotech entrepreneur and author of the upcoming book, Woke Inc. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning. Do you agree with Ted Cruz that the Biden administration probably will not hold them accountable?
I agree with Senator Cruz. In fact, I shared a stage with him last week at the Heritage Foundation's event in Texas. And the only place where I disagree with him is this isn't the event that proved that Facebook and the big tech titans are acting on behalf of big government. This is just one of many examples we've seen over the last year and a half, where effectively what the party in power has been able to do, especially since congressional Democrats took over the House and then the Senate and then the White House, is to be able to say that, hey, we have this pesky thing called the First Amendment that prevents us from engaging in censorship. But now we have this fourth branch of government that doesn't operate according to constitutional constraints that we can use to do our dirty work through the back door, to get big tech to do through the back door what they cannot directly do through the front door of government under the Constitution, and that is to censor content on the internet that they disagree with. And Facebook and Twitter and everybody else is following suit, and they should absolutely be treated like state actors when they do it.
And Vivek, I think what he was really emphasizing is the fact that on top of what we know, we get this tranche of emails released, at which time you see Mark Zuckerberg interacting directly with Anthony Fauci, backing up Fauci's views, not Tom Cotton's views. That is an agenda, and that's a concerted effort, don't you think?
It's absolutely a concerted effort. I'm just sorry to say I am no longer surprised with when we see it, because we see this kind of thing happening through the back door nearly every day now. It is the woke industrial complex at its finest, because what you have happening last year is Anthony Fauci, it looks like with the emerging facts, funding gain-of-function research abroad, despite the fact that there was a U.S. government prohibition and U.S. restraints on doing it. Ultimately, that results potentially in the pandemic of a century. That's the fact we're now seeing emerging. And then Fauci and big tech and the media all cry racism and don't pay attention to it and even censor the pursuit of that very story. That is the woke industrial complex fleecing everyday Americans of not just their money in this case, but their health, their voice, their identity. And that is the way this game is played, is that in the United States, we don't have government goons do it directly. They just hire their henchmen to do it indirectly.
Sure. And we know who you think the henchmen are now. But this should not surprise you, Vivek, because after Donald Trump was elected in 2016, big tech, essentially, Google, Facebook, they all got together and they had a postmortem about how did we let this happen? And then effectively they said, we will never let this happen again. And because they are private businesses, there are different rules, and they're able to skirt the rules that you're talking about. So going forward, is there anything conservatives can do to turn the ship around?
Absolutely there is. And I'll tell you this, I'm a big believer in private businesses operating as private businesses and being free to do what they want when they're acting as private companies. But when they're acting as agents of the state, they should absolutely be treated as state actors. So I think there's two things we could do. One is actually starting with Senator Cruz and his colleagues. I think they need to amend Section 230 now to be able to say that if you're one of these big tech companies, you don't get to have it both ways. Either you operate as a private company and you're tied up with all of the liabilities of a private company at the state level, or you act as a state actor on behalf of the government and get special protections from the federal government. But in that case, the First Amendment attaches as well. So if you benefit from Section 230, then you are also bound by the same standards as the federal government, including the First Amendment. They're probably not going to be able to do that, especially with the Senate being as divided as it is and the House being as divided as it is. I actually think that there's a way for everyday users who are censored now to take these cases to the Supreme Court now. And Clarence Thomas has basically signaled that the Supreme Court is open for business on this argument. I think somebody, personally, in my opinion, President Trump, needs to bring that case now. It could be the iconic case of our century.
No kidding.
You know, it's interesting. The Nigerian government banned access to the social media giant Twitter and after a dispute with its president. And then they released a statement. They tweeted out, access to the free and open internet is an essential human right in modern society. They say that. However, don't you remember when they banned Donald Trump, then they banned Mike Lindell, then they banned Michael Flynn, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone? What do you say?
And they ban everyday Americans who disagree with the orthodoxy all the time as well. So, look, it's great to see that Twitter thinks that the free and open internet is a human right for Nigerians. It's a shame that they don't think the same about Americans. Now, I don't agree with what the Nigerian government did. It's wrong. Censorship is wrong no matter who does it. But I do think it's fitting that Twitter got a nice taste of their own medicine. And this is a telling case of the hypocrisy of big tech at its core. They love to preach about the values of free speech abroad, yet here at home, they are the worst violators of those same principles. And I think that it's a bit of a wake-up call for what's happening, because if you dig beneath the surface, here's actually what's happening. They were basically arbitrarily censoring conservatives here at home. Then they got criticized to say that, hey, there's real dictators abroad that you aren't even touching. What about that hypocrisy? Now they're trying willy-nilly to make up for this, but they're doing it in a really sloppy fashion. And in that sloppy fashion, they realized what happens when they do it in a place like Nigeria.
No kidding. All right, Vivek, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.